Sounds like it's trying to get going.
Yeah.
All right, so somebody should start hearing me now. There we go. Oh man, it is turning into one of those evenings, everybody. Welcome to Throttled. Thank you so much for tuning in. Had obviously all the settings just blanked as soon as I hit the go live button. So everybody should be hearing us now. Gentlemen, I've got a full crew. How are you guys doing? We'll start with Chris.
I am doing very well. Good to be with you guys.
All right, Tom, how are you doing tonight?
It's a good Sunday, just coming off a week's vacation. So it's been very good, very relaxing.
Awesome. Mr. Larry, how are things over on the far coast?
Well, things are awful. I feel terrible. Woe is me.
Yeah, we figured out today that Larry was old. That's pretty much what we talked about before the show. That Larry has figured out today he's old.
Yeah. So. Fortunately, I can't remember how old I am, so you don't have to worry about that.
Bonus.
Problem solved. Well, welcome to everybody in the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I know a bunch of you guys are trickling in and everything. Sorry for the rough opening for you guys and for the guys on the podcast. I'm sure that was beautiful as well. But so let's see what's been going on. Who's done some riding this week?
How about you, Larry?
Well,
any Smoky? Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
No, go ahead, Larry. You probably actually did riding.
Mine was actually I did do riding. I did get out one day this week, and I rode up the coast, and the weather has been pretty good until it got smoky later on in the week, and so there's a big fire up in Napa, and the latter part of the week we got the smoke, but I did get out earlier in the week, and I rode up Highway 1. As I say, up the coast to Point Reyes, and then came back home, and it was a really gorgeous day and a nice ride and very relaxing. How about you, Tom? What did you do?
So I was on vacation this week. So riding was not a motorcycle vacation. I drove the car nearly 2,000 miles this week, but the bike was limited to about 20, 30 miles today as a shakeout ride after I did a little bit of maintenance. So changed the oil on the bike today and preparation for next week's little trip, and just took it out for a short ride for a shakedown. But that was about it. A lot of car miles, very little bike miles.
Chris, how you doing, man? What kind of riding you got?
So, today was nice. Gene and I got out for a couple hours. We did one of those poker runs. It was a charity thing for breast cancer. So that was really cool. Neither of us won anything, but that wasn't the reason to do the run. It was cool just to be out with a bunch of bikers and support a good cause. It was kind of interesting though. I had 4 spades going up to the fifth and final stop, and then I think I drew a heart or something, so that blew my hand. So, and I was too cheap to pay $20 for another card. So that was that. But it was a lot of fun. It was good to get out and ride. And then last Saturday I squeezed in one more track day up at New York Safety Track before the end of the season. So that was really good. I rented one of their Kawasaki 400s again. So it was nice to just get in one more novice class day, give me a chance to practice some of the things I learned in California Superbike School. So yeah, that was a ton of fun, and definitely looking forward to next season. I'm actually, I took the Vulcan out today. I haven't ridden it in quite a while, so it was good to just kind of stretch the legs on that thing and make sure the fluids are circulating and, things are not deteriorating too much. But
you're talking about yourself or the Vulcan?
I was talking about the Vulcan. I mean, it applies to both of us, but I was talking about the Vulcan. But yeah, so it's looking like that's gonna get converted into a track bike, meaning cash wise. So
Uh-huh.
one of these days I'm gonna start posting it for sale. If I could sell it over the winter and get a good price for it, great. If not, I may have to wait till the spring, until people are looking for bikes again. But I think I'll take whatever proceeds I can get and roll it into a used track bike. So
yeah, you'll get a better price in the spring for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I'll just have to be patient. That's fine.
Well, and Larry just posted in the live stream that he's the oldest rider in the world. And I have to say that I know that is incorrect because I watched a YouTube video on a 80-year-old enduro master. I mean, this guy, usually if he's in a group, he's leading and he flies. Younger people have a really hard time keeping up with him. I don't remember his name, but I'm going to go back in my history, and I know there's a lot more out there about him, and I may talk to him, but that's very inspiring when you see what this guy's just ripping down trails and
right. But he's off road. I'm the oldest on road, the oldest and the slowest.
Well, what's the lady in the Moto Maids? How old is she? She's got you beat.
Oh yeah, that's right. But she doesn't ride very much.
She rides her bike to all the Moto Maid things.
Well, yeah, but that's a couple times a year or something like that. Otherwise, she's
a couple cross country trips a year. That's nothing.
Yeah, she's a figurehead.
Yeah.
I ride regularly, but I ride slow. Paul says he's the slowest, but he's wrong.
Well, Paul's faster when his wife's on the back of their trike. I can tell you that for sure. She's like, go faster. Well, I did get out and ride some yesterday. Got about 160 miles in. It's just a good ride. I needed it. Did get pretty chilly last night on my way back in. I think it was in the 60s or 50s, but with me being on these thinners, I really feel the cold. And I mean, even with my what is it, the heat gear or heat out or cool out, whatever it is, the freeze out, with the freeze out stuff, the pants and top on, I was chilly. I had to buy new gloves. And I basically got the exact same. It was really weird. On the same week, the palm ripped out of both my street and my ADV gloves on the same hand. It was kind of weird. And so I'm like, I guess and I just ordered the same gloves because I really like both gloves. They're fantastic gloves. I've had them for, 4 years, and the way they feel. So when I got the gloves, I was thinking, I was like, I should have gotten something that was more winter and not perforated. I need to get a non-perforated waterproof glove that's not uber thick, because I don't like the feel of having mittens or I like to be able to feel my controls, and I don't feel like I can feel my controls. Even if I put on glove liners, I don't feel like I can feel my controls. We've talked about this before. Yeah. But I want to find something else. But between that and I ordered some new tires, and I've ordered a couple Farkles for the bike, and I just can't afford to throw any more money at it right now. So,
do you have a heated jacket liner?
I don't. And that is something that I was thinking of doing. But see, what I've noticed is it's usually my hands. And I've got heated grips, and I've got the wind. I've got, hand protection. My brain's not working.
Guards. Yeah.
Hand guards. Yeah, thank you. But, those don't do. Those do the, a lot, but they don't do enough, really, when you've got holes in your gloves and it's that cold out, So,
this is true. Because the reason I ask, I was going to point you towards Warm and Safe heated gear. They are doing a killer sale on their waterproof jacket liners that there's limited sizes and it's the colored version. So they're doing away with the colors. They're only going to make black from now on. So they've got some red and yellow heated jacket liners. I think they're 50% off. I think they might be 50% off from where they are. And I've got the waterproof version in black, and I love it. In fact, that was part of my prep today. Was had the bike in the garage, changed the oil, plugged in my jacket, put it on, and made sure that that it worked. And for those chilly 50-degree mornings potentially next week, all good.
Well, and see, another thing I had, well, thank you for that, and I'll definitely look at those. But another thing that I had to buy recently is not knowing if it's going to rain or not. I went to find my rain gear, and I couldn't find, I couldn't find the jacket, and so I ended up having to reorder a jacket, and I tore the house apart, tore all my bags and everything, and I think I know what happened. I remember in February when I was coming back from South Carolina, at one point, I threw one in my car. It kind of it hit the seat and bounced out and hit the ground. And I had my hands full, so I kind of flipped it up. I think on the bed, and on the bed of the truck. And in my truck, I have a tonneau cover, and so I'm thinking I forgot to get it off the tonneau cover. And when I left, it just stayed there because I haven't seen it. That was the last time I can remember seeing that. And so I think I just left it in South Carolina. So somebody in South Carolina has probably got a really nice, rain jacket there. But, so that's kind of what's been going on with me. But one of the things I did buy, I told you guys last week or the week before, I think, that I got the, what is it?
You said is it the quad lock?
Yeah, quad lock. I tell you guys, I'm telling you, my brain is not working. And I went
welcome
and
to
bought.
And you were talking about Larry.
I know. So, well, I mean, Larry was the one talking about Larry. I just mentioned that he was talking about it. I went and got the vibration dampener that they just came out with for the quad lock. And I'm going to give that a shot because I've read a lot of reports that, some of these cameras on these new phones are very sensitive to the high frequency vibration. And my bars are pretty vibey. And so I ordered this a while back. And, when it was around, they had those rubber grommets. And the case I had on there was very rubbery as well. So I didn't notice a lot. But now that this is really hard and fixed mounted to the bike, I don't want my camera being messed up on the phone. Because I want to keep the phone for several years.
Yeah, when we meet up next week, I'm going to be curious to look at that because there was, so I'm active on ADV Rider, and there's a thread on this, and somebody was claiming that, you got to watch it because it kills all the phones. And I claim BS because it is like, okay, I've been using quad lock for several years on bikes. I've never had an issue, but I'd be curious to take a look at your setup on that.
And from what people said, it's just if you've got a lot of vibrations and you feel it, like if your hand goes numb from vibrations in your handlebars, it may be something to look at. Just that the high frequency vibration, big jolts the phones handle better, but the high frequency just over time can cause a problem. So, and I was like, I'd rather be safe than sorry. It's not that much to do, and it's protecting my phone, which cost a lot more than it did. So. Anyway.
Well, one of my other preps for next week was I got out my, I've got a Climb Latitude jacket, which is like my winter jacket. And I wanted to take that on my little shakedown ride today just to see what it was like with all the vents opening and it being 72, 75 degrees out. So curious, I have not had this jacket on since May? No, probably before that, maybe March of last year. And I had to take it up quite a bit. So Larry and I had talked about how I had been attempting to, why I went to my GS was to get the bike lighter and all. And he had made this comment of, why don't you just lose weight? And it's like, well, that's something I've actually been working on. So over the summer, I've actually dropped about 30 pounds. So
I was just joking, Tom.
I was well on my way there. I put my jacket on. It was like, ooh, there's a lot of room in the middle now. Still fits in the shoulders, but I had to cinch it up as much as it would go to make it fit.
Well, congratulations. I'll have to admit that here since July 22nd, I'm down 22 pounds.
Way to go, guys.
Now, I will admit I'm still fat. I'm just less fat
than
I was before.
Same. It's the shirts that I was embarrassed to wear before. Now I can wear and not feel as bad. Like some of the shirts I had in my closet, I was just like, it's not, there's no way I'm wearing this out. Now I'm just like, hey, I can almost pull this off, and everything. So, I'm back down to the weight I was a year ago. Well, almost. I'm like 4 pounds shy of being to the weight I was a year ago. So that's really good. COVID threw a number on me when it came because I gained a ton of weight during COVID.
Well, you're not alone, but do we want to get back to motorcycles?
Sure, yeah.
Well, this was part of motorcycles. I have lightened the load on my motorcycles. I've lightened both the GS and the scooter by almost 30 pounds. That was unfortunately attached to the handlebars.
So, well, no, I mean, but your suspension, I mean, depending on, now what year's your GS?
It's an 18.
Do you have the dynamic suspension?
Yep. So I typically ride it in auto when my wife's riding with me, or like I'm traveling, I get the bags on, then I'll put it into the max setting. So it's a little different than some of the older GSs. When I had my other GS before, it used to be helmets, and it was single helmet plus passenger, and helmet plus passenger and luggage. I always had mine at the helmet plus passenger because I figured, at the weight of a standard person plus.
On the Tenere, they've got passenger luggage, passenger luggage. That's the combinations. And I usually have it at passenger because I figure me plus luggage equals another passenger. So
Yep. With my model, I think it was the 18s, went to this auto leveling, and that seems to work very well.
Does it change dynamically during the ride, or does it kind of like once you get on and get the bike kind of going, it's like, oh, I need to, and then keep going?
Good question. I believe it changes during the ride, but I am not sure. It may set when you get on the bike and it's stopped, and sets the level preload, and then that's it. But that's a good question. I really don't know.
All right. So there's something else, another topic I was going to bring up. Oh, yeah. Okay. So here's a question, and this is very specific. So let's see here. I am going to be borrowing a GPS for this trip, and I believe I compare it to the Cardo. So, and because I'm wanting to do the experience. I was like, so I've got the phone, and I'm just like, let me try this GPS, and I want to run them there. But one thing I haven't figured out. So if you pair the GPS as Bluetooth, so you've got your phone on one thing to the Cardo. And this would probably apply for Senna as well. I don't really know. And then you've got on phone 2 going to the GPS. Can you have a mesh conversation? Because I figured, Tom, you and I would be on a mesh conversation because we may be the only people there wearing Cardos. So you and I could talk to each other because we never get a chance to do that. And so once, would the GPS cut in, or does it, can you do that? Can you mix GPS inputs with the mesh? So like you have a GPS that's telling you instructions while I'm in a mesh thing, And does it lower the call, the intercom, while you get the instructions, or does it just totally cut out the thing?
The answer to the first question is yes, you can pair it.
Okay.
The answer to the second question is it depends, and it depends on your settings in the phone as to what your profile is, as to which channel you want to have preference. So the default is one, you're going to pair the phone to phone one. And then when you get the GPS, you're going to go through the same pairing, pair it to phone 2, and then there's another, you've got about 5 seconds to move the jog wheel and get into GPS pairing. So that sets it up as phone 2. Then you can be on intercom. Then within your preferences, you'll see the settings as to what audio do you want to take preference over others. Typically, intercom will be the highest. So that'll take preference over the other. So you won't hear GPS and you won't hear your phone. Although I think phone will trump your intercom. But you can switch any of those around. So if you're actively talking, I believe, on your intercom, you won't be able to hear your GPS inputs. But I think with mesh, and I haven't tested this out, so this would be good. I did test this out with Bluetooth intercom. But as soon as you're done with your conversation, your intercom conversation, you start hearing your GPS again.
So you got to get the other guy to be quiet to hear the GPS.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting to see. So when my wife and I did a ride, she's got the Freecom 4 Plus, which is just Bluetooth. So even though I had my Pack Talk Black set on DMZ, is it DMZ, right? Mode?
Yeah, the DMC.
DMC. So I had it set for that, but it's still linked to her intercom Bluetooth fine. So while we had an open mic going, no, I couldn't hear my GPS instructions. So I just follow the screen. As soon as we cut it, we stopped the intercom, then I could hear it again. I am not sure how the mesh works with that. That's something we'll have to test out.
Because I know, like, if you've got like a music playing, when somebody's talking or you're talking, the music volume lowers to where you can hear the conversation. And so I'm like, well, what I want is, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I want the conversation volume to lower so I can hear, don't miss your turn.
And I believe in the Cardo apps, you can set that up. Okay. I typically turn off the secondary sound. So I just hear the one channel at a time. But once you are paired up, get into the Cardo app, and you can change all of those settings as well as what the priorities for each channel are.
Yeah, and I think you can. I think on this particular GPS, you can pair your phone to the GPS, but I don't see a point in doing that. I'm just like, phone to Bluetooth to GPS, and that should be good. So
yeah, keep it simple.
I'll give that a shot, and we'll work it out. We got 2 days to figure it out. But anyway, all right. So there we go. My personal topics are done. Check. See y'all later. No. So let's get to some news, shall we? Unless there's anything else personally that you guys would like to cover.
Well, I did have a question for you guys. So notice this today. So I said I changed the oil on the bike today. And for a change, I actually did it all in one setting rather than trying to do it during my workday and going back and forth. So I kind of took my time with it. So I got everything all buttoned up, new filter on, new oil in, everything's all set, cleaned off any oil that spilled, and started it up. As it got up to temperature, 150 to 180 degrees engine temperature, I was getting, and let's see, I didn't even look if Rodney's out. Yeah, Rodney's out on the chat. started getting a little bit of smoke, and I couldn't quite tell if it was coming from the O2 sensor going into the exhaust, which is right underneath the filter, or if it looked almost like it was coming off the filter itself. So I was getting just a whisper of smoke coming off it. Have you ever guys ever seen that? Does a new, and like I say, this is the first time I've taken my time finally changed my oil and noticed this. Does a new filter smoke a little bit as it gets up to temperature for the first time?
Could you have gotten any of the oil, like when you're, and I don't know, when you're putting a little bit of oil on the ring before you tighten it up, to get a good seal? Could you have like gotten it on the engine and just the engine got so hot that it burned it that way?
I mean, very likely. So the exhaust manifold is right underneath the filter. So the typical procedure on the GS is you cover everything with tinfoil, and then you take the filter off so that it drains down. But yeah, I probably got a little bit of oil on there, but it should have burned off quicker than this did. This was still, and I mean, not a lot of smoke. This was like if you weren't laying on your back with your face 6 inches from it, you probably wouldn't even see the smoke. So that's why I was just curious.
I have to admit, when you said tinfoil, I immediately pictured a guy riding a GPS, a GS with a tinfoil hat on.
protect them from the 5G.
It's a procedure when you take it, because the exhaust manifold is right underneath the filter. You get the tinfoil in, you cover the exhaust manifold, and then that way, as you take the filter off, it drains down the tinfoil into your oil pan.
Rodney has changed so many GS oil, probably buckets of oil that come out of those things. He would know better than I. However, he's probably more efficient at it than you and I would be. So,
yeah,
he may like, I have no idea what you're talking about because I don't make a mess. But
unfortunately, every time that I change my oil, I'm always doing something else, and so it's like during a work day. So I take a call and I'll do something, and then I'll take another call and do something else. And this was the first time I took my time and played with it, which I don't advise trying to work and take conference calls while you're changing your oil. That had a very unfortunate circumstance once. So one time I forgot to put the oil back in the engine, started up, her rattling, and I was like, oh crap, forgot one step. The second time was that on one of my older bikes, the oil fill and the oil sight are on opposite sides of the bike. And so I added my oil in. I go over and look at the fill, and it's like, oh, okay, everything's up to speed. It's got the right amount of oil. I turned the key on and started up. Yeah, runs fine. Everything's good. Walk around to the other side of the bike, and I had forgotten to put the fill cap on. So by doing that, it just sprayed oil all over the inside of my garage, and I spent the next 2 hours after work cleaning out the garage of all the oil that was now on the floor.
Rodney says that it's probably not the filter, that it's a small amount of oil on the exhaust, and that the smoke drifted and stuck to the filter.
And he also says he never does the tinfoil hat trick.
Yeah.
It doesn't do the tinfoil trick.
Well, I think it I don't know if he's like, it's like, I never used the tinfoil trick, like, well, I've never tried that before, instead of, look at it that way. All right.
Anyway, so that was my little fun for today. All right. So you guys haven't experienced that. So
Nope. I've never had smoke from a new oil filter.
New oil. Yeah, it could have been from the little, like I say, it's the first time I noticed it, or it dripped on the engine itself and to a spot that I didn't see.
Yeah. And speaking of doing maintenance, I think I'm going to try to start doing my own oil changes. I haven't before, but I think it's time. I think I'm ready to start going down that road.
So I did my air filter last week, did the oil this week. I really wanted to do the rear. So next week I'll do the rear differential and they'll also drop the rear and lubricate the transmission splines or the drive shaft splines.
So you do that? You grease up the splines with when
It,
you.
it's not called for in maintenance, but I have seen there's the Throttled ADV rider, and there's been some challenges with it. So it's easy to do, and just drop the rear and just put some molly grease on the splines. It's good preventive medicine.
Good to know. All right, so
I,
let's.
I don't have any splines.
You don't.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
You got to get on your hands and knees and clean your chain every 500 miles. So
Well, I know I have chains. I just don't have splines. I wish I had splines.
I'd much rather do this every, either 6 or 12,000 than have to.
Oh, I mean, on
chain.
the Tenere, 23,000 miles almost. Hadn't thought about it. I mean, it just keeps on trucking.
I pine for splines. Just
Pine for splines.
Or
if I ever made memes on top of our show stuff, that would be one right there. All right. Well, let's transition ever so not subtly to IMS. So apparently IMS has decided that what they're going to do is they're going to kind of retire their indoor show arrangements that they've been doing. That, they come around every winter, except for, the first couple in California and some other places. But, New York is always like snowing, right? And a lot of other places that they do it, it's not really, hey, let's go outside and ride and all this other stuff. They're sunsetting that program, and they're bringing IMS outdoors. And so these will be large open air venues with demo rides. I kind of look at it like my brain just turned off. AIM Expo, kind of the outdoor AIM Expo portion. I think it's just going to be bigger. I think they're looking at the popularity that AIM Expo has, and they're going to try to make it bigger. They seem to have a lot of buy-in, right? They've talked to 12 manufacturers, and they're all interested and give a thumbs up. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this was kind of in discussion before the pandemic actually hit. So, that I think that's good that this is the direction to go on. And what I think thrills me the most is they're going to be moving it, instead of during the winter months, to the fall for a lot of areas, so they can actually not freeze to death and partake and enjoy. I don't remember them seeing locations. Have they announced locations for this?
December they'll come out with locations, and it'll run from May to October, but don't know where yet.
May to October. I mean, that's great. And I'm hoping that they swing south a little bit, because it seems like IMS is a very northern show. I mean, there's no IMS. I mean, what's the southernmost IMS that they do?
Used to be DC, I think, for the Southeast. That was the closest.
And the one thing that DC is not is in the Southeast. So I would argue that DC is not south.
More mid. Yeah, it's mid-Atlantic. But no, the whole Southeast region was devoid of it. So hopefully they won't do the same with this. But I think it's a great idea. I mean, it's kind of like I was thinking of, like Americade kind of has a similar setup with all kinds of manufacturers and demo rides. So it's kind of like a road show of that. I don't know, Larry, Chris, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that they're good. They're going to be focusing, as you said, on outdoor activities. They'll be having lots of test riding, which I think is a big plus. And they're going to be offering a lot of camping facilities, so that so the public who attends will be able to camp. You won't be having to stay in hotels. There'll be lots of new rider opportunities, and it sounds like it will be a really fun event that is geared, as much for the public as it might be for the trade.
So and I had an idea here. Now I doubt this happens, but for those of you that have attended Barber the last several years, they have 2, maybe 3 companies come and set up demo rides. Usually it's BMW, sometimes a local Harley will, and Ducati has before. They come and they set up demo trucks or demos that are available. What behind that area, and that doesn't take that much room in this parking lot. Behind that area, the last time I was there, they actually extended the swap meet and had another swap meet area. But over where the original swap meet is, there's actually more room to put those people over there. So I was kind of curious as to why they separated it. But that area is huge. And so you could take that entire parking lot and have, 6 to 8 probably motorcycle companies doing demos out of it during Barber in October. The people are going to be there, right? I mean, 20,000 people are going to show up to this over the course of a weekend, and it would be a great opportunity. Not to mention that there's some areas right around there to where if you wanted to have some off-road riding sections, you could. To me, the liability on that is just outrageous, but
the criteria though they said was, locations that had good road
Yes.
access for a demo, as well as some off-road access. So
yeah,
they may be.
I mean, because they have a trials, not trials area at Barber. And there was rumors years ago that they were going to put in some just kind of trails and a dirt track. I don't think that ever happened. I'm actually not sure. I've never seen it. But they do have like a trials competition that are there, and then, but there's land there to do something like that if they wanted to. To have go ahead.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And Chris, for you, this cuts Manhattan out of it, given their criteria. So you may have to travel a bit.
Yeah, I mean that's the only bummer I see. I mean, I think it's cool, the idea of the outdoors and being able to offer demo rides and things as part of the whole experience. But I will miss, like I look forward to once a year December, going doing the indoors thing, getting to see all the vendors, and even they don't get to ride the bikes, get to sit on the bikes and check them out and whatever. So yeah, I've been a little spoiled in that regard.
They are saying that they will have a vendor area as well. But I don't know.
No, yeah, I'm sure, but I'm just saying it's just been a nice tradition going, December before Christmas and whatever. But that's fine. Things change, and I think there's a lot of plus sides to this new approach. So good on them.
The challenge will be now. This is going to be on outdoors, and that type of thing is now you're subject to weather. So I'm sure they will not let you do demo rides in the rain.
Yeah, that's probably true, but I mean, certainly depending on how they do it, you could, if it's bad weather, you could still have nice kind of, indoor displays. If you have like a big, circus tent kind of thing set up or something that's sheltered from the elements, you could still have lots of activities, even if they couldn't do demo rides and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the drawback, is that you're much more dependent on weather and the unpredictable stuff. So, but if they do, as they say, late spring through fall, then hopefully they won't have as much of a problem with the weather as they would have otherwise.
And presumably they'll pick locales based on what's normally good weather, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did go like the big circus tent route, that could be great for Zero, because they could just run their motorcycles indoors, right?
And I wouldn't be surprised if there is not necessarily a full tent, but several large coverings just for,
Yeah,
you
to
know,
get out of the sun or whatever.
yeah. Like I
Open
could
air,
see you actually
kind of an
like
open
where the
air
bikes
tent.
park,
Yeah.
taking that and putting some kind of cover over it just to, get people to stand in the shade a little bit and as they're waiting. And you get a little bit of that over in the Vintage Fest when they do their demos, but several areas like what was it, AIM Expo in Orlando didn't have a ton of cover. Columbus had more, because everybody kind of had a lounge area, but like Indian didn't. Indian was just out in the sun. And poor Suzuki, I felt bad because like nobody ever rode their bikes. I felt really bad. I was like, oh, poor guys. But anyway, all right. So, yeah, I was like, poor little Suzuki there. Let's see. So Indian has decided to challenge Harley in another area. They have they've got rumors of an upcoming electric motorcycle from Indian started circulating with the trademark filings for the eFTR. We mentioned this on the show a while back. And today they revealed the eFTR Junior, an all-new electric mini bike that allows motorcycle lovers to hand down their passion for two wheels to aspiring riders. It looks a little larger than the electric little Harley Stasic bikes.
Yes, it is.
But it very closely mimics. I mean, it's even got fake exhaust on it. The FJR, and so it's a cute little bike, I guess you'd say. How much different is it than the Stasic? I mean, how much bigger is it? Do we know?
No, just looking at the pictures, though, it does look considerably larger. It also goes up to 15 miles an hour. I don't know if the Stasics go that fast. You can set it for either a maximum of 10 or 15 miles an hour, depending on the age of the rider. So it's a little bit more advanced and sophisticated than the Stasics are. But yeah, it's a cute little bike. It sells for $750. It's got about 65 minutes of battery life at the higher mode, and I'm sure most kids would be delighted to have it.
I gotta admit, this is if I had something like this, I'd want hot swap batteries out of this, because I'd be like, okay, you go out and you have until the battery dies, and then they die. I take another kid out to where that one is with another battery. Pop. All right, you have until the battery dies, and then when they get done, I take another kid out.
Yeah,
pop.
That's a good point.
And then I've got a month to charge 3 batteries, because that's how long it'll take. So what'd you say? 2 ride modes. Yeah, I like that. And a weight limit of 175 pounds. We would be under that. Seat height of 23.5 inches. So a little taller than most Harleys. I'm joking. But Ted would be happy with that seat height, I think. He would be comfortable with it.
It probably is higher than his bike. And it does have genuine shocks and disc brakes.
Oh yeah. I mean, it looks like a mini bike. I mean, that's what it is, And it's $750 is a serious option for a kid's bike. That is not a bad price for this.
Yeah,
not at all. I can't get over the fake exhaust. It's great.
Yeah.
By the way, I actually saw an FJR, in person, and I don't know if I've seen one before, but I do like the look of that bike. But anyway, side note, little.
Yeah, well, you're not alone in that. There are 2 things about this that also should be noted. One is that this is called the eFTR Junior.
Junior, where is its big brother?
And so that does seem to open the door for there being a senior FTR, a full-size bike, electric bike, and that would be quite interesting indeed. The other thing about this is that not only is Indian challenging Harley in this arena, but the other big news about electric bikes is that um, Indian is going to be partnering with a big e-bike manufacturer for off-road electric vehicles. And that electric manufacturer is none less than Zero.
Well, and to clarify, it's Polaris that's actually doing that
That's right.
partnership.
Well, it is Polaris. That's right. And the other thing about it is there's nothing explicitly in what they announced that refers to motorcycles. So it would appear that the first part of the agreement is going to have to do with other off-road vehicles and snowmobiles. But it's hard to imagine that electric motorcycles wouldn't be far behind.
Well, there's a line in this article here that says the partnership gives Polaris a quick step forward in developing electric versions of its off-road vehicles and helps Zero with a new market for its technology without directly competing with Zero's existing line of motorcycles. So that last sentence makes me wonder, can they even apply any of this technology to motorcycles? Or is it you cannot build a motorcycle that competes with ours? Because I don't know if it's fair to say that a Zero competes with a Livewire, right? Because I think they're completely being attracted to different markets.
I wouldn't say that. I think the Zero, their two latest bikes are a direct comparison.
That's true too.
For $10,000 less, you can get the exact same functionality and performance in a Zero that you can out of the Livewire. They've got a roadster and a fared bike.
Yeah, well, maybe. So I mean, maybe does this tie Zero's hands? I mean, Indian's hands, or will Indian be able to, elaborate on the Bramo Impulse that they purchased a while back? That was the Victory Impulse there for a minute,
right?
And will they be able to bring that back and a Scout?
Well, they need the new technology because they ended up selling off Brembo and all of the technology to Cummins a few years ago. So they divested of that plan, and the technology was dated as well. It was 10 plus years old, and they never did much with it after the Impulse. But this brings up, here's a multi-billion-dollar company now perhaps investing in Zero. Hopefully it won't have the same effects of the Harley Davidson Alta partnership that happened a few years ago. But it's a neat idea. I think Zero's much further along. I could see it as a neat partnership.
And honestly, I see this as, Polaris Zero at some point. I think this is the first stage of, Zero, Polaris just buying Zero outright.
Well, this would, this gives Zero a whole new funding base potentially, for them to develop their bikes. One thing that the news release does state is that, quote, Polaris aims to offer customers an electric vehicle option within each of its core product segments by 2025. So if you consider Indian a core product segment, then this would argue that they do have electric motorcycles in the plan, and it might very well be an Indian Zero, offering.
It'll probably be a rebadged Zero at some point. 90% Zero, 10% Indian. So.
Which may not be bad. I mean, it puts Zero, gives them a channel of distribution that they can't compete with today. I mean, typically a lot of the Zeros, at least in my area, the two Zero dealers are secondary dealers and sell used bikes only. And then they're a Zero dealer. So they get very little exposure. This could be a neat idea.
All right. Well, I think we're getting to the point of swinging over to the paddock. You guys have a lot to talk about, don't you?
Well, there's a fair amount.
Well, first, Chris, did you have anything to add to that conversation? Because we kind of cut you out of it.
Oh no, that's totally fine. No, not really too much to add to it. I was just kind of scanning through the article there. So, yeah, I don't know. It is interesting to see what happens. I mean, I guess Indian is going to have to come out with some electric motorcycles, right, sometime in the next couple of years, just to look competitive in that space. So it'll be curious to see what they do.
So, Chris, quick question for you. You mentioned earlier about, you're going to start looking for a track bike. Would you ever consider an electric bike as a track bike?
It's funny that you asked that, because as we were talking about these articles here, I was thinking about that. Like, how practical would it be? I don't know. I guess I might possibly. I guess what's the interesting question is if I go electric, would I do it first for the street or for the track? Yeah, I think the biggest problem, not having swappable batteries is, my guess is, right? So you're riding very spiritedly when you're riding the track. So you're going to go out, do a session, use up most of the battery, then you've got 45 minutes to charge up for the next session. So I don't know.
Well,
interesting.
If you have a bike with like a level 3 charger, you could get a full
it would
charge
be
in
fast
about
enough.
45 minutes. Yeah.
Now, could you do that off just like a regular? Actually, I guess that's the interesting thing, is how many, like, what watt generator would you need to be able to charge it up?
Oh, yeah.
But that's interesting. I don't know. Interesting. We'll have to talk about that in the future.
Might have to look into that. All right.
Great
well,
question.
and I mean, if going back to, Richard Hammond crashing electric vehicles, then these batteries in a crash can be rather combustible.
That's actually
that's true. Would they allow them on the track?
Interesting point.
Because once they start, they don't stop until the whole thing's gone. Because once
it's burned down.
Yeah, I mean, because they'll put out they put that $1 million car that he wrecked or something like that. They had to put it out multiple times because it just kept igniting. The next it would damage the cell, then the next one would burn, and it would damage the next cell, but they'd come put it out. I mean, it was a thing. So I mean, it's just something to think about. But there may be a way of, they may have these guys have been working on these engineers for a while. They may have found a way to to stop that cascade from happening.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget they're racing e-bikes in MotoGP.
This is true.
And they
did have that fire.
TT.
Yeah,
they did have that fire that wiped them all out.
They did have that too.
Yeah. Actually, it'd be an interesting thing to Google and see if anyone is using electric bikes on the track. Just like for track day kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry for the diversion. Back to the paddock.
No, great question. Yeah. So I don't know. You want me to just do a little Moto America first, Larry?
Go first.
Just
right.
a little bit.
Sure. We'll talk a little Moto America. So no recent race. Last race was Barber 2 weekends ago. So I'm not going to go over a lot of details in terms of results or anything like that. But I just thought I would go over some highlights of things that's been happening over the past couple of weeks and whatnot, and how things are looking for the end of the season. So there are 2 rounds left. Indianapolis, which is coming up next weekend, and then Laguna Seca, which is a couple weekends following that. What's interesting, I was just reading earlier, Indianapolis, there is going to be fans, but they said limited fans. I don't know exactly what that means, or if there's going to be some mad rush for tickets, or has been already, or how they're going to decide who gets tickets. But evidently that they're going to have some viewing. They're going to have the stands open in the turn 1 area. And evidently, spectators will have a good view of the one main straightaway and then the infield portion, that they use in the road course. So that should be interesting to see how they handle that. The other interesting note that I came across was, you mentioned that motorcycle racing actually has a strong heritage at the Brickyard, as it was the first motorsports ever at the track. They had a series of 7 motorcycle races in August of 1909. on the 2.5 mile oval. And then MotoGP has raced there from 2008 to 2015. So it's been a few years since motorcycles have been at the Brickyard. So that should be really cool to check out. In terms of the different series, so Junior Cup, right, which is the 300 to 400 cc bikes, the smaller bikes. So Rocco Landers, who won the championship last year, has already clinched the championship for this year. So he clinched it at the Barber. I think it was Barber race number 2. So basically, just mathematically, in terms of points, he had such a lead that even if he didn't finish any of the upcoming races, and the next the next point stand is in line, won every race, that just mathematically couldn't beat him. So that's kind of interesting. He's also competing in Twins Cup. In a minute, I'll go over where he's at. I know he's leading the championship. I don't know if he's going to be able to lock this one up, and it is even possible, I believe, he may miss the last race of the season, Laguna Seca, because he's competing in the what you call it, the Rookies Cup, in MotoGP, the Red Bull Rookies Cup. So so he's probably going to miss the last round. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know mathematically if he could lock it up with this coming race at Indy. In Superbike, it's been kind of interesting. Andrew Lee, who the last 2 years won the Stock 1000 championship, did not have a ride for this season. But at Barber, he landed a ride on a Superbike, so he actually raced in the Superbike class. What was interesting about that, he was supposed to race on a Kawasaki ZX-10RR, which would have been really cool. And in practice, it looked like he was doing really, really well. And, considering he hasn't raced Superbike, that he actually was going to give the guys a run for the money. But it turned out, unfortunately, the bike was not legal for Moto America. There was an issue with, I don't know, the transmission they put in, which was not stock, was not homologated for Moto America, and then there was some other issue. So they had to withdraw that bike, which actually, I forget the name of the team, but it doesn't matter. But he ended up actually being able to race both races on a Suzuki. David Anthony, who's got the Fly Street Racing ADR Motorsports team, actually loaned him his backup bike, so he actually was able to race. And actually, he did pretty well. So he finished 9th in the Saturday race 1 and 11th in Sunday race number 2. So not bad. I mean, he has raced stock 1000 bikes, which are nothing to laugh at. But for his first time racing in Superbike class, that's actually pretty good result. So we'll have to see. He's supposed to be racing on the Kawasaki at Indianapolis, so we'll see what happens this coming weekend. And then Moto America related news. I don't know if you guys have been following World Superbike at all, but it was really cool. Garrett Gerloff, right, who was close to winning the championship last year, although his teammate Cameron Beaubier did win the championship. Actually, I don't know if you remember watching that race. It was the last race at Barber, where Gerloff could have won the race, but he backed off so that Beaubier could win the race and clinch the and get the championship. So obviously Garrett knew he was off to bigger and better things, so I guess he wasn't too worried about giving up a race win. But so he did place 3rd in the race number 2 at Catalunya, which was, I guess, the last round. And then the most recent, this past weekend, World Superbike, which actually, at least the practice and I think some of the qualifying was in the rain under pretty wet conditions. He actually, in free practice number 3, actually edged out Jonathan Ray. So Garrett Gerloff is kind of showing his stuff. It's showing he's got some skills and whatever. So that's really cool. Just quickly, I can just kind of go over where things are at in the championship so far. So with the 2 rounds remaining, and I don't know, maybe some of the guys listening may know for sure. I believe, because they wanted to fit in a couple extra races for Superbike, I think these are triple headers coming up where they're actually going to run 3 Superbike races these next 2 race weekends. But if anyone knows for sure, they could kind of chime in there. But so in the Junior Cup, like I said, Rocco Landers took the championship with 335 points. Obviously, he's going to race in as many more races as he can. And just being how things have been going, I'm sure he's going to win most, if not all, of the upcoming races that he races in. Samuel Lakoff is 2nd, 228 points. Dominic Doyle is currently 3rd. Then we move over to Twins Cup. Rocco Landers, 1st place, like I said, 227 points. Caleb DeCarroll is 49 points behind him in second. Hayden Schultz, who's actually been doing really good also, third place in the championship. He's 93 points behind. So that's about four wins. I think it's 25 points for a win. In Super Sport, Richie Escalante is still leading the championship with 311 points. I don't know if we've talked about it, but there's been some controversy over the fact that he's riding on the Kawasaki ZX6R, which is a 636cc, motorcycle, where the Suzukis and Yamahas that the other guys are riding are 600 or thereabouts. The bike is legal for Motor America. It's been homologated like that for quite some time, so whatever. There's been kind of this controversy back and forth. Some fans who were like, Sean Dillon Kelly is currently second in the championship, 40 points behind Richie Escalante, who's riding a Suzuki, and then Brandon Posh, who's in third. I'm not sure if it's a Yamaha or Suzuki, but anyway, this has been this kind of controversy, and it's like, what's this thing, 636cc? Why is that allowed? That's why he's winning, and other people have, like I said, pointed out that the bike's been allowed for quite some time. It's just finally you have a combination of team, bike prep, and rider that's just making that package work. So I guess it's good to have a little controversy. It keeps people interested. In Superbike Cup, all right, so actually Stock 1000, right? So Stock 1000, so Cam Peterson is in the lead, 215 points, followed by Corey Alexander, 184, Michael Gilbert, 125. They also run what's called the Superbike Cup. So Stock 1000 riders are allowed to compete in the Superbike races with the Superbike guys. So there's kind of two classes going at the same time. So they have, in addition to Stock 1000, they have this additional Superbike Cup. So guys are getting points for racing in Stock 1000 as well as the Superbike races. So Cam Peterson is also leading that, 271 points. Second place is Travis Wyman, who rides the BMW. So he's got 220 points. Corey Alexander with 155. And then moving over finally to Superbike. So, of course, our boy Cameron Bobier is killing it again. 325 points, leading the championship. His teammate Jake Gagne is in second with 222 points. So it's a 103 point difference. That's a big difference.
Yeah, that is a big difference.
Yeah, followed by Matthew Schultz, who is in third place, 221 points. So he's very close with Gagne. I mean, they're running neck and neck. And I hate to say it, but all three Yamahas. So Yamaha's kicking butt in Superbike. Yeah, so it's interesting. But so that's kind of where things are at with Motor America.
Oh, great! Thanks, Chris. That was good. It's funny that Yamaha is doing that in World Superbike because they're also kind of being more dominant in MotoGP as well, at least in some of the races.
Yeah, and it's interesting in World Superbike. I heard someone was saying that Jonathan Ray has been saying, yeah, it's time for Kawasaki to update the ZX10R or RR. I guess because as good as he is, and the fact that I guess he's working on his sixth consecutive championship now, he's feeling the pressure. I guess it's becoming harder and harder for him to dominate, with these other bikes, coming up. So yeah.
Well, I think that makes it more fun, and
absolutely.
As we talked about, MotoGP is this year, since Marc Marquez is not riding, it's kind of up for grabs. Every race is a different winner, and it just makes it much more exciting, I think. And speaking of that, actually, I do have some American Flat Track to report on. No MotoGP this week. I did manage to watch the Dallas Half Miles last week, and I had reported on them in our last podcast, but I actually saw the races, and basically in those two races, Brian Bauman ran away with the race. He started in pole position, he ran off into the distance, and he was never heard from again. So they weren't as interesting as when the races are more competitive. Sammy Halbert has been riding very well this year now that he switched from Harley to Indian, and so he earned second place in both races. And Mies was trying to, in both races, really fought hard for a podium spot, but he was blocked from finishing in third in both races by different people. So it was interesting. The competition for third and fourth places, for instance, in the races was much more interesting than the competition for first place, which was totally taken over by Bauman. Now, we then had the Atlanta half miles, two of them this weekend. And great competitor that he is, Mies comes back and narrows Brian Bauman's lead for the title. In the first half mile, there were stunning battles, and I'm getting this from the reports. I haven't seen the races yet, but there were stunning battles between Mies and Halbert. And then Mies and Bauman and Halbert, and even the younger Bronson Bauman, was competing in the race. He was he was pushing Mies hard. So Mies in the first half mile is battling with Halbert, and Bauman, who I think started in fifth or something in that race, managed to move up to third and then passed both battling Mies and Halbert and took over first place. Mies then had to get past Halbert and then set out on a chase of Bauman, finally catching up within the last few laps. They then traded places in what was reported to be a really sizzling melee, with Mies finally overtaking Bauman in the last corner of the last lap. And so Mies did finish first in the first race. Breyer took second, and Bronson battled with Halbert and ended up taking third place. So Halbert only ended up in fourth place in the first race. In the second race, it was Mies battling again, and he was battling up an up-and-coming Brandon Price for most of the race. Only towards the last final two laps did he move past Price and took over first place. And Breyer battled up from a bad qualifying, and he was, I think, in seventh place, and he managed to end up in third place in the race. So Mies finished first in both of the races in Atlanta. He has moved up to within, I think, 12 points of Brian Bauman, and so he is on the upswing. Mies says he's feeling better. He feels like he's getting his rhythm back, and so the rest of the season is going to be very interesting indeed. And that's the news from American Flat Track.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think an Indian bike is going to win Flat Track this year. Well,
that's a very risky.
I mean, that's how I roll. I'm high risk, high reward kind of guy, and I'm gonna step out on that, and we'll see. Yeah.
Right? I still get a kick out of the fact that Vanderkooi, who rides one of the factory Harleys, always has his rear brake on. If you watch him going around the track, his rear brake disc is glowing red the entire race. And that's his style of riding. He's done that for years. And I would say that would be okay if he ended up finishing well, but he's always he's always at the back third of the field, and so watching him circle the track with that glowing cherry red disc in the back is kind of amusing. But that doesn't seem to me to be the most sophisticated way to race these days.
But I think he's taking slow as fast, or slow as smooth, and smooth as fast to a little extreme.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, yeah, but I think you're pretty safe in your bet there, Kevin.
We'll see. I mean, crazier things will happen. It is 2020. Dun dun dun. All right. Well, gentlemen, great job as always. Thank you very much for doing that, and that's pretty much going to wrap it up for the show. Hey, special thanks to all of our Throttle crew members. You guys help keep us going. You keep us on the interwebs, and without you, we wouldn't be here. We say it week in, week out, and we could use more help. There's as things start opening back up, or we want to get out there and be able to maybe attend some of these IMS outdoor events. And, you can start helping us now, joining up and join the Throttle crew. Every little dollar helps. We appreciate it. And, hopefully you'll give it a shot and consider it. All right. And so to start wrapping and rolling out, how can you join the Throttle crew? Well, that's really easy. You go to the website, throttledpodcast.com, scroll to the bottom, click on that Patreon logo, and it gets you signed up. You can also send us an email, feedback@throttledpodcast.com, or go to the website, throttledpodcast.com, click on the contact tab. We get both of those in the same mailbox. Follow us on Twitter @Throttle Show, Instagram Throttle Show, and Facebook Throttle Podcast. And I can say that, we definitely know that there will probably, by the time this episode gets out, already be some pictures from the Loud Pipes meetup that's going on. As of right now, Tom and I are both planning to attend. Mine depends on how well I'm doing by that time, but I am gearing up and planning for it and scheduling it. So unless I take a turn during the week, that's the plan. So that's what's going to happen there, and so it should be fun.
That will mean then no live show next week, correct?
No live show.
No live show on the 13th or 12th. 13th.
11th, I think that is.
Yeah,
one of those days. One of those. Yeah, because 12th is Columbus Day. So yeah, on the 11th, no live show for all you guys in the live stream. No live show next week, and we may not be able to post no live show next week as well. I'll try to remember if I can. Just depends on what time we get back, and if I remember the time zone change, and everything. So, but should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. But normally you can listen to the show live at 7:30 Central, 5:30 Pacific. YouTube is where we broadcast a live show from nowadays, and we do publish 15 to 20 minutes before the show the link that the show will be broadcast on. And we have a little bumper playing. If you've ever watched any of our videos online, you notice there's about 15 to 20 minutes of this bumper video until we get started. We kind of get that going so we can join and start chatting with some guys in the room and everything. So feel free to join early and walk off and come back when it's time, or however. So
great,
I think
great music. Great music. Yeah,
I gotta admit, I find it catchy, a little dilly, and it's a beautiful, beautiful scenery that, as we discussed, we have no idea where it was shot. So, anyway, well, gentlemen, who would like to sign off first this evening?
I'll hit it first. So everybody, y'all have a good week. It was a good conversation tonight. Learned some new things. Looking forward to next week's little meetup with Kevin. We will get to finally meet in person, as well as with the Loud Pipes guys. So it should be a good 3 or 4 days of riding in the North Georgia and Tennessee and Western North Carolina mountains. Everybody have a good week, and remember, your bike is transportation, just not a toy. Nick?
Chris.
All right. So Kevin and Tom, hope you guys have a great time at the meetup. It sounds like a lot of fun. Wish I could join you guys, but it's just a bit too much driving for me for riding. Like I'd have to take a couple of days off of work, which I just can't swing right now. But it was great being with everyone. Good hanging out with you guys. Great with everyone who's watching and involved in the chat. Thank you for all the input and suggestions. I appreciate it. As I'm doing my research on track bikes, I'm sure I'm going to be reaching out to these guys for pointers and suggestions. So that's really cool. So everyone, enjoy the next couple of weeks, and hope to be seeing you again soon.
All right, Larry, it's over to you, my friend.
Okay, well, Tom, Kevin, just remember, ride safe, ride your own ride, and have fun. And same to the rest of you guys.
Larry, if you wanted to join us, if you left tomorrow morning, you could easily be there by Friday afternoon.
This is true.
The only and I was actually fixing to comment that the downfall of 2020 is I really feel that if it wasn't for the pandemic and it wasn't for a lot of the stuff going on right now, we very easily could have gotten Larry out because he was threatening to come out to Barber. He's been threatening to come out for
This is
years.
true.
And last year, I think, I mean, it was he was very close. And so I'm really thinking if it wouldn't have been for the pandemic, and I mean, because let's be honest, he has to quarantine, right, for 2 weeks still because we're still on that list. Well, I don't know, Tennessee and all them on the list anymore. May not be.
I don't believe so.
Yeah. So Larry, yeah, come on out, man.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you're retired. You got nothing better to do.
All right. Well, we'll take that under severe consideration.
But anyway, well, guys, we'll see you in a few weeks. We had a blast tonight. Thank you, everybody that was here. Thank you, everybody on the live stream. As always, great show. Get out there and ride. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Here in the South, it has been just primo riding weather. Just comfortable outside just to spend the day. Hopefully, you're having the same kind of weather. Get out, enjoy it, ride safe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. All right. Well, I think that was a pretty good show. How's everybody feeling in the live stream? Looks like it.
Yeah, we had a great astronomy discussion.
I noticed that.
I don't know how we got onto that.
Learned a lot about telescopes.
Yeah, you guys. I mean, somebody made a comment. I think it was Paul. That was just like, "Oh, I'm off topic. This is a motorcycle," and I'm just like, "This show and you guys ever getting off topic? Man, that never happens.
Never happened."
So, all right. Well, guys, on the live stream, we're gonna go ahead and call it a night. You guys be safe, ride a lot, and we'll see you all in a few weeks. Have fun. Thanks everybody for showing up.